branch to anyone holding a grudge. In this edition of Hot Issues, we put this to the test.
This is a people's game. They will be bubbling about this one for weeks and months to come. Let's go!
I am Keminni Amanor, and in this edition, I sit down with one of many people suspended from office by the NPP in a process he's described as a coup. My next guest is former second national vice chair of the NPP, Sami Crab. You're welcome to Hot Issues.
Thank you.
The NPP recently softened its stance on people who had been suspended or undergoing some disciplinary action. And one of the things that it said it was doing was it had lifted the suspension by the general amnesty it had given. What does that make you now?
What do you mean?
A member of the party?
I've always been a member of the party.
Okay. Despite the suspension?
I've never been, it was said at that time that I had been suspended. I was suspended from my position. I was then a second vice chairman. So right after my office, my tenure was over. There was no suspension.
At
I
all?
contested the last time against Steven Tim. I've been voting superdelegates. I was a part of the campaign structures. So,
but you have been reported as saying that the suspension that you received back in 2015 was illegal. You even went to court in 2016 as a result of that, a redress that you lost when you went to court. And so, compare the two situations for me now. Deconstruct. When you tell me that you were never under suspension, what do you mean?
I never said that. I said that whatever suspension that was there ended when my tenure ended. Because I was not suspended as a member of the party. I was suspended as an officer of the party. which in itself, indefinitely as an officer of the party, which was problematic anyway, because then effectively what they had then done was to remove me from office.
Right.
When if you want to remove an elected officer from office, you have to use Article 11 of our Constitution, which requires another process. So that was a very wrong thing that was done. However, that's not what we're debating now. So basically, after my tenure ended, there was no suspension. You can't suspend me for an office that I don't hold.
Right.
You understand what I mean? So
that's your interpretation.
Not my interpretation, because I was allowed, if it was so, that I was still suspended. Why was I allowed to even contest elections in the party?
But it wasn't an easy feat for you going back and saying that I want to contest in that that national chairmanship race.
No,
there was.
It wasn't difficult. Was it?
It wasn't. But there were party folk who were not happy about it.
Yeah, but I didn't think that they formed the majority because I was elected. You know, that's the principle. When you are elected by people, you were hired by TV3. Those who hire you are the ones who are going to fire you. I mean, nobody other than those who hired you here can fire you. Your colleagues cannot just get up and fire you. You understand what I'm trying to say?
Right.
Because you have systems. There's a procedure that you need to follow. So it's the same principle that we have in our Constitution. Those who hire you, fire you. So if you were hired by the delegates, it's only the delegates who can fire you. So if you look at Article 11 of our Constitution, right, it's very clear that if you want to remove an elected officer, what happens is you trigger the process with about, what they do is that the signatures from about 40% of those who elected that officer. You see, so in Afoko's case, Kwabena Agyapong case, my case, then you needed to do the Tamale thing again. You needed to get 40%, okay, of those who went to vote for Afoko, Kwabena Agyapong, or myself. You needed to get 40% of those people to sign a petition, okay? Very tall order.
Right.
And then after that, you reconvene the Tamale conference and then put it to the people. They say, Afoko has done this. Kwabena Agyapong has gone to sleep with my girlfriend. This person went to chase my mother. You know, incestuous relationship. Doesn't really matter what it is. But the process is a process. So you go there and put it before those who hired them. And if you get 2/3 of them saying, yes, they should go, there's nothing like a suspension of an officer. The officer goes, either goes or stays. An officer is different from a member. Right? So an officer has what we call a security of tenure. That was baked into the Constitution so that officers can focus on the work ahead and not be looking over their shoulders. And that, actually, we had to amend the Constitution to make it very difficult for anyone to remove an officer after what happened to us in 2008 in the Ashanti region, where we had about 11 independent candidates. And we realized that it was because it was so easy for people to just go after people.
Right.
So an amendment was made, and we made it very difficult for anyone to remove an officer. But once you do that, then what we have now is what comes out, because then you have very weak people putting themselves up, people who don't care, don't believe in themselves. They just want to use it for something. They take up the positions, and then you have extremely weak leadership. And if you do not let people, you know, you get extremely weak leaders, then you have a big problem, because elections, especially elections in Africa, require a lot of grit. You need people who can fight, people who've weathered things. So you have weak people coming through. How can they carry you through? You know, when the going gets really tough, you need people with grit, people who believe in themselves, and people who believe in themselves will not kowtow to anybody.
Are the leaders of the NPP now extremely weak?
But what I'm trying to say is that what happened at the time I warned, because you see, let me also circle back. Nobody ever attacked me, nobody ever accused me of anything. They were accusing Mr. Polafoko and Kwabena Agyapong.
Absolutely.
And then I thought they used, you know, they didn't use process to suspend them. So I stood up and fought against it and said that I would not even attend meetings anymore if Freddie Blay was the acting national chairman, because I didn't recognize him. So I went out there and started speaking against it. And said, for speaking against it, then we're also going to be suspending you. That's what happened. You know what I'm trying to say? So people like me, you know, humility, would never stand up for that. Absolutely not. Because I'm a man of my own means. I believe in myself. I'm principled. I have values. And if I see that something is wrong, especially when I was elected at Tamale, I raised my hand to the square and swore that I'll protect the new patriotic party, the Constitution. And I didn't care who was trying to violate the Constitution. It didn't matter to me whether the people looked powerful. I had a constitutional duty as an officer, an elected officer of the party, to protect the Constitution from everybody, including myself. So that's exactly what I did. You know, so there was kind of a difference between my stance and what they claimed, which I didn't care. Well, they claimed Akufo and Keminni Amanor had done. To me, it didn't matter what they had done. That's why I started, you know, with a very sarcastic angle by saying that if they slept with your mother, incestuous, it doesn't really matter. If somebody has run afoul, there's a process. So use the process, because it's a process that strengthens, you know, the party, and then gets people from the outside to look at the party and know that, okay, if this party can follow process, then I can trust them with the laws of Ghana.
Do you think that that event was much more than what they accused you of and what they accused Paul and Keminni Amanor of as well? Was it much more than that? Was there a deeper problem that you know, resulted into that?
Well, there are always deep underlying stuff that results, that manifests in things that you see. But I don't really want to go there, because the thing is that I am not in anybody's head. I'm not in people's private lives. So I wouldn't really know and tell, but I don't care. What I know is that if anybody has done something, regardless of what you feel, there is a procedure. Follow that procedure. That procedure validates anything that is going to be done. But if you go against that procedure, then be very careful. Because once people go against that procedure, they set up a dangerous precedent. So look at what happened. So they hit Paul Afoko, they hit Keminni Amanor. I came in, not only me anyway, I shouldn't be saying me, because there were a lot of people who also stood up against them. So they suspended me. In the Brong-Ahafo region, then Brong-Ahafo region alone, about 300 officers were suspended. In Ashanti region, Amakutufo was just meting out suspensions to people as if he was sharing pancake. Okay, anytime anybody rose, they suspended constituency chairmen across the country. So maybe you've forgotten all of that. But that is what happened. And when you do that, you're attacking people who are rising against what had happened. They were not rising against discipline, because discipline is part of the party. When somebody does something, runs afoul, the person has to be taken through a disciplinary court. They were fighting against people usurping the powers of the delegates. It was their right to decide whether or not those they are elected should stay or leave. But if you suspend an elected officer indefinitely, you know, so the delegates elect a flag bearer, and then the flag bearer is there, and then some people who think they are powerful find some ways to suspend the flag bearer. Can you imagine that? They suspend the flag bearer. No. They have usurped the powers of the delegates.
Right. It's
the delegates who elected a flag bearer. So it's the delegates who have to come together. And there's a formula. It's a mathematical formula. You have to get 40% and then 2/3. It's mathematical. So you need to vote on it. And before you can remove that. Otherwise, you create a lot of problems. So after they suspended a lot of people, then people went quiet. You see, and there's a saying,
which is why some people have said that is the root of the NPP's problems of today.
Of course, because I think I carefully chose a word. I said security of tenure. You know what that does? You know, judges have security of tenure. Very important people who are supposed to be focusing on their work. And so they don't get distracted by noise or by people trying to go after them. They are granted security of tenure. So when a constitution grants an elected person a security of tenure, it is trying to protect that guy from all the noise and get that person to focus on the work ahead. And there's only one objective of a political party: to win power, and then through governance, you know, improve the lives of the people of Ghana. Let's say in Ghana, for example. So you need to be very careful. When you do that, when you burst that thing, you're definitely going to have very weak people in leadership, because everybody just went quiet, you know, and they were not making noise. But like, or as Bache Jaku said, in their hearts, they had planned. They knew what they were going to do. They just assume that because everybody is quiet, then it means that you are in control. You're not. Because you have to face the general elections, and then they'll meet you there. They have families. They have relatives. They have people. So they come after you.
Right.
So if you get away with it once, and you think that that's what it is, no, it's not. It's structural. They are watching and coming. When they feel insecure, they will not come and even offer themselves, but they organize against you, which is some of the, I mean, these are some of the things that actually manifested in the last general election. So I would say that that was the beginning, because security of tenure was attacked. And when you have a problem with perceived fairness, it affects not only the people who work for you, but even people without the organization, because these people are the ones you have to depend on to bring you into government. They are the ones you need to depend on to be sustained in government.
Right.
And when that trust is eroded, then you are going to be in trouble. You get my point? So as you are doing things within the political party, don't ever think that it is going to stay within the political party, because it's sending signals out there. How do you treat people? If this is the way you govern within your organization, then it tells me that you are likely to govern that way without the organization. Let me draw a parallel. Let me pull something for you to see. Okay, so look at the way and manner Kwabena Japan and Afoko were treated.
Right.
Even me, when they wanted to come after me, not only me, all the others, the 300, 400 constituency chairmen, regional executives that they went after. They started, first of all, the playbook. They have somebody write a petition against you. And most of the time, they will look for somebody who is very close to you or in your tribe. So Afoko, they got 2 Northerners. Kwabena Japan, they got 2 Ashantis. And so I predicted that they'll get 2 guns. And indeed, that's what they did. So that nobody will say that, hey, they're against the Ga, or an Ashanti, or a Northerner. It's the playbook. So from there, then they write, and they don't follow process. Then they say, oh, we are going to form a committee. We don't know anything about it. Do you remember those words? Oh, as for me, I don't know anything. It's a process. What process? You're violating the process. So they go through, their friends go and sit on the committee. Then they go all the way around and come and say, okay, I don't know anything about it. I don't have anything to do with it. But at the end of the day, this is what is happening.
But
I have to do my job.
The report was that you didn't appear before the disciplinary committee.
Why should I? Because the disciplinary committee is an inferior body to an elected officer. It's made up of people who are unelected. The Constitution does not give a power to suspend or remove me. The petition that was made against me was that I should be removed from office. So that's the wrong forum. And it was an inferior body. You see, that was one problem I had with the press at the time. That people didn't take time to really read and then contribute to democracy by insisting. But then, you know, there are a lot of activists within the press. So they just get them and they come along and they help destroy democracy within an institution. But one thing you should know is that the political party is where we are all incubated. Right? So we will be incubated there and unleashed onto the public. So be careful. Because the same method they used to remove Afoko and Kwabena Japan, myself, and those other teaming members, officers of the party, is the same playbook they used to remove Charlotte Osei. They got some people to write a petition. Right? And they got this. And they say, oh, I don't know anything about it. I'm just a president. I don't know. They went through this. Meanwhile, you go to what do you call it? Council of Elders, and you practically appointed all of them. Most of them.
The Council of State.
Council of State, sorry.
Yes.
So it goes there, and then it goes around. Then it comes to say, I don't know anything about it. I use process. It is a facade. It's the same thing. So they played it out within the NPP. And then people, including people from your profession, they helped them. And then they succeeded. So they hit against Charlotte Osei. And remember, when they went after Charlotte Osei, they were going after security of tenure.
Just like in your case.
Absolutely, because she had a security of tenure. But they had practiced it within MPP, that we can bust security of tenures. Right? So they brought that playbook straight to Charlotte Osei. Okay? And then they went after her. Didn't somebody write a petition? Didn't they say they had nothing to do with it?
Yeah.
Didn't they go around and then they went after electoral commissioner? We are a very young democracy. President Kufuor is a very, very wise man. You know, when President Kufuor became president of this country, you know what happened? We were putting a lot of pressure, when I say we, I mean the NPP, for him to remove Afarijan because of what we perceived that he had done against her. He didn't do it. He said the democracy was too young. Even if he had done something wrong, you don't go after such institutions, because when you attack these institutions, you weaken the democracy.
Right.
So why do you even attack, even if it were so? All things are lawful, not all things are helpful. A wise man would always know that.
Right.
So even if she's done something wrong, you understand when you go after that institution, you weaken Ghana's democracy. And let me add this. It is arrogance for you to think that when you go after somebody's person in a particular way, then you expect that person to also use your same playbook and you also play the equivalent of going after the next electoral commissioner. You see where the NDC took the thing? Bursting security of tenure at the Chief Justice.
With the judiciary.
Good. So that particular event that happened, I just want you to understand. The invisible forces went and chased a certain judge from her courtroom in Kumasi. If that judge had spoken against what had happened to Afoko and Kwame Japan, like I did, maybe he should have been saved. So please, when we're talking about these things, they are very serious matters. I took them very serious.
Right.
And there were many NPP executives who stood up against that because they knew that ultimately it would weaken the party. And that's where we are.
So just let's run it back a little bit, because I want to understand a few things and then we can move forward, right? The people who came after you most likely are also the people who then were at the helm of affairs when you were kicked out. Will that be correct?
What do you mean?
I mean, the belief that people were trying to kick you, Kwame Japan and Afoko out, then became leaders of the party post your exit.
Yeah, I mean, acting capacities and things like that. Of course, they couldn't just make them substantive. So they say, you're acting, you're acting, you're acting. We never even have acting in our constitution. But then the whole Ghana went along with it. Yeah.
Would you then also say that since then, the party has not returned to where it used to be?
Yeah, that's what I've been saying all along. What I'm saying is that the moment they went after that, then what we have now happened.
Right. So I'm going somewhere with that. In the beginning of the program, you tell me, look, I was suspended as an officer, but I remained a member of the party.
Yeah, I was suspended.
Which is then true about your contestant, Stephen Intim.
Yeah.
Why did you continue to hold that piece of you?
But it's my right. I mean, I'm a member, registered member, I have a card.
Despite all these things that were going on that you didn't like?
No, but it's not, look, the thing is that the NPP doesn't belong to anybody. You know, I was inducted into this party by my mother. Okay, I went through it, and I am a bona fide member of this party. Nobody has more rights than anyone in this party. So nobody can kick me out of the party. What happened was a coup d'etat. That's exactly the way I described it at that time. It was very scary. Scary in the sense that there were so many Ghanaians, prominent journalists, who never saw anything wrong with that. And I thought that, wow, this is an indication that even this, our fourth republic, we need to really be very careful. Because if somebody goes out there, an adventurist, goes out there and does something, I cannot be sure of the press. I'm not attacking you guys, but I cannot be sure. Because you can have certain prominent people going out there because of one thing or the other, not being true to the values of this country, could go out there and support. It has nothing to do with me. I am a member of the party. If you've succeeded in doing that, they also took invisible forces and things to try and do those things. That's okay. I'm relaxed. I'm still a member of the party. You can't remove me as a member of the party. And as a member of the party, I have obligations towards the party. So I will go out there and exercise those responsibilities. And that is exactly what I did.
Is it also the case that the factions within the party led to some of these things that took place, in that there was the belief then that Afoko was aligned, the Afoko then chairman was aligned to President Kufuor, and then, you know, the movement at the time was in support of former President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. Did that play any role?
But everybody knew that Nana Akufo-Addo would win the primary, but the party still elected Afoko. What happened was not by the party. And that's another point that you need to understand, because the party elected us. So if you thought that you could, in any case, they tried going for the 40% signature. They didn't get it. If you remember, go back into the archives. They went all around, they held meetings at Central Region, Bronga Hafo. They couldn't get the 40%. So the party was saying no. So then it was a coup d'etat. You get my point? So the party didn't do anything.
The factions didn't play any role?
As for factions, I don't want to even go there. I don't have a problem with factions necessarily because it's just people grouping around ideologies, which can be healthy. It's when it becomes a cult that people then do all kinds of silly things. So I think factions can be healthy because we are a center-right party. We have an ideology. People can have people to the right of the ideology, to the left of the right, and they have to group and form associations, even within the party. That's fine. That's not my problem. Whatever it is, it's speculative at this time. I haven't done any research to really know that those were the reasons. I don't want to speculate. I don't want to assume something that I don't know.
But I mean, as an executive at that time, did you get the impression that those factions were creating problems?
No, I don't know. I didn't really care. Because you couldn't really place me. Difficult to place me because before I became the vice chairman, I was a Greater Accra Regional chairman, and I can challenge you. Yeah. You ask any of the aspirants at that time if I did not give them equal access in Greater Accra. And I can also ask any of the constituency executives if I, Sammy Crab, as the Greater Accra Regional chairman, ever picked up a phone to call anyone to support one person or the other. So that's the way I am. But
the moment you spoke in support of Keminni Amanor and Afoko, who, the party was already trying to...
Which party?
The party had suspended.
Which party?
But they were suspended. I'm outside of the party. I can't name names. Because based on party account, they had gone through the process and suspended Keminni Amanor and Chairman Paul Afoko. So the question I'm asking is, the moment you spoke in support of, Keminni Amanor...
I spoke against what had been done.
Yes.
Not for Keminni Amanor or Afoko. Get it right. I spoke against the procedure that they had used to remove elected officers.
Which is speaking for them, over their suspension?
No, not personalities. Okay. I spoke against the process.
All right.
And I have been, you see, maybe you don't know me. If you had followed my political journey, you would have known. I can mention people. Adwoa Safo, when she was coming into politics, they wanted to block her and stop her. I rose and spoke and made sure that she went for the primaries, challenging Okwe. So Okwe and I, up to now, we're not on good terms because I did it. You can ask I.C. Kwe, Archibald Kobna. Archibald Kobna was an assemblyman around Kokomemle. He wanted to contest this institution, I.C. Kwe. I.C. Kwe said over in Zebo, because he even thought that by contesting him, it was even an affront. I refused. I made sure that he contested him. I can also tell you Abankwah Eba, who became the treasurer. Abankwah Eba was being stopped from running at Clote Colley. In fact, he took the party to court. I was there when Mark Menu called me. I went there, law committee were sitting and they said Abankwah Eba had taken the party to court. If he didn't, they don't allow him to even run. Okay? I stood there. I spoke to them. They should allow him to run. Finally, they allowed him to run, and he took the case from court. Abankwah Eba. I can just go on and mention many people. Mohammed Ajesoa, who became the mayor. They said they wouldn't allow him to run. He was a small boy. Where was he from? All that kind of thing. I stood behind and made sure. You can go to Lejokuku. So that's who I am. Even Boache Jaku. When he went against Nana Akufo-Addo, contested Nana Akufo-Addo, we were in Adan one day, and they said they wouldn't allow him to speak. I stood there, and Emile coming on the platform, physically holding charge. I said, he's going to speak.
Right.
So I am like that.
So this is the question I'm asking.
I'm like that.
By pointing that out, this is the question I'm asking. Do you think you were collateral damage in that?
I think that some people had an agenda. They wanted to get something done, and I was in their way. So they did what they thought they needed to do to get a thing done. And I also thought it was a duty and a responsibility that even though the thing didn't concern me, I had to speak against what I thought was going to create problems which will culminate in things that are happening to us now. So I spoke against it. I have no regrets. If anybody tries to go after any position, any use unfair means to go after someone, I don't care what the person has done. I didn't want to get into personalities, if you remember. So I said, I don't know what they've done. Maybe it's like somebody's mad at somebody. I don't know. I don't care. What I care about is, are you applying the internal procedural justice system that has all been agreed by everyone? That's all I care about as an officer, because that's what I was sworn in to protect. If I protect that, then people will have fair hearings. They will be going through. You can't pick somebody, do a coup d'etat, remove that person. Because at the end of the day, it's going to trickle down. It's going to go after people's confidences. They're going to lose confidence. They're going to cow. And in this business we are in, we need brave people. When somebody is stealing an abala box, you do need a weak person to go stand there. You need somebody who can stand his ground or her ground. So you end up bringing people who are opportunists. Okay, I don't care about the position. If I can find some money, buy my way through and go and sit there. So when I go and sit there, I'll even go and do galamsey because I need a position to protect myself from galamsey. What does the party stand for? You have people deviating from the values of the party because now those who will care will not put themselves up for somebody sitting somewhere to come and talk to them about heart. Who will do that? And that was what I was fighting against.
I see. We'll take our very first break. When we come back, I will go into the new attempt to regroup the party proper. Don't go away.
Me pay so dear me jammy. Sister me dad dear me chibiana me shishimi. I could eat that. Me many tea or somebody me sakana me say. Me eat us to Sika, sit there to the moon. Juju so mo. Bag the one there. Me baby free. So what you say bag number? One number to show. Wow.
Sasa me nya kwamfo bia bana no mo sole o.
Hey!
My guest in this edition is Sami Crab, who is a former second vice chair of the NPP. Sami, I appreciate your time with us here on Hot Issues. The NPP now is on a path to regroup, reconcile all of its bases. And, the question of what happened becomes very crucial. What do you think happened in that 2024 election?
I was given 5 constituencies by the Greater Accra Regional Chairman, Divine, and just so I could help them. So, Krowo, Abekuma South, Obumdami Abra, and which are the ones here? So I had to go around and help them. And Ashaiman, of course. So, and I was quite embedded in the campaign. The first thing I noticed was that even though they were very knowledgeable, and these were guys who had been there before, it wasn't their first rodeo, they didn't even have a strategic plan. And it was largely because people had not been trained. They had not been trained on how to take knowledge from their heads, put it on paper so we can share, everybody looks on it, and then we measure what we do, loop it back for continuous improvement, and then wind it as we go. And that was strange because this NPP, many years ago, trained all of us. Then College Kwashiga was then the organizer. And that was the focus, preparing us, training us continuously. When I was a Greater Accra Regional Chairman, I trained the people for 1 whole year. Every week, every other week. Every week we had about 5 people come in. We chose 5 executives to come in. Alajete, Udui Sykes, Benanan, all those guys, they taught them the Constitution, what their rights were, what their obligations were, they were expected to do, how to relate to people. And then the following week, they had a plenary session at the trade fair. We brought in Dr. Roger Cranton. He was then a lecturer at GIMPA. He came and then helped them with, human resource staff, accounting, and then they helped them all over. So they were really, really, really prepared. First of all, they understood what the party, they knew how to put structures in place, they knew how to even come up with strategic plans, but this was absent. So that was a big problem. So I took it on myself to help them out. So I sat down with them, listened to them, took notes, and then went back and then came up with the strategic plans for Krowo, for Shaima, for Obom Damiabra, and the others I was responsible for. Abekuma South, I had a meeting with them as well and did that. So that was a problem. Because if you have people who are leading you in a fight and they cannot take things from their mind, structure it, put it on paper, and then follow it, then there's a problem. Because to stay in their head. And then they can't carry people along. So I knew there was a problem. Then also motivation. For many years I have been talking about motivation. And I used to, in a way, just I had a soundbite I was throwing all over the place. It did Edija.
Right.
Chopping and leaving people, because that was a big problem. Let me give you an example. Like Crower, for example. The candidate was afraid to go around with executives of the party. Why? Because he said anytime he went around with them, came back, and he realized that information leaked. So the candidate was afraid of his own people. Why would they leak information to people? Because they had no loyalty to the party anymore. So everything we had was outside. That was a big problem. Very, very big problem.
I see. So, I mean, you've mentioned a lack of strategy.
Motivation was
grassroots motivation also.
Serious, not only grassroots. I'm talking about even
all through the chain.
All the way to the candidate. There were people who were there, who were just around.
I see.
They were not motivated.
But surprisingly, you haven't mentioned government performance. What did that
government performance is very important. You see this structural model that I said I presented in Aston University.
Yeah.
That structural model also takes care of political party, competence and integrity. So that models or tries to measure government performance. So we were in government, and our government, according to the public, was not performing the way they needed to perform. But that's also a very interesting thing. You see, a lot of people look at the economics of it. Yeah, I'm sure that our government did things that were economic, because right now I hear people touting roads, and we did build roads as well. But there are certain things, they are latent though, that also impact on people's emotional connection to your political party. A lot of things. First of all, can I relate to your party? Because people are pointing to things like the former president asking chiefs to stand up. Even if you fed the person, you give the person all the money in the world. That guy is a cultural animal, because Ghanaians are really, really cultural in nature and traditional. So that person may look at that, and that negates whatever economic benefits you've actually given to them. Some people were thinking that they were marginalized. Some people thought that there was no space for them to also speak their minds. And that also impacts on trust and signals to voters that there's no tolerance in your party. You understand? You go after people. Then what kind of space do you create for minorities? Minority of thought, minority of religion, minority of tribe. Do you create space? What is the perception out there that you lean more towards a particular tribe other than another tribe? Could that be a reason why we lost in most of the so-called minority regions?
I see.
Could that be why in certain police stations we got 0 because one, we are being perceived as being anti-other tribes and being pro?
But as a member of the party, what are your impressions about the previous administration?
You see, I have been around long enough to know that it doesn't really matter. You know, politics is a very, very funny thing. Because, so I cannot say, I think that the government was there. There were metrics, there were things that I thought were not done right. There were other things that I also thought were done right. But
give me an example, I mean, of things that you thought were done right.
I think that a lot of people perceived that the government was really arrogant. A lot of people perceived that the government was about family and friends. So it didn't matter what the government was really doing. You understand? They were doing things that were good. However, those guys were not perceiving that the government was there for them. There are other things that they thought were actually also important to them. And we're not seeing around. We're seeing arrogance. They were seeing people throwing their weight all about. And that was enough to, in my view, negate some of the economic progress that you may even make, if you did make it at all. So, but there were things that the government also did. They were quite structural, and they had to turn a lot of things around that I believe will manifest, you know what I mean, in the future. There were certain things that were really solid, even this digitalization thing. Well, I said I'm a technologist. I built the first business outsourcing company in Africa, here in Accra, grew it from an internet cafe in Dansuma from 0 to 2,600. Became the biggest private company in Ghana. So I believe in digitalization. I even write a series, article series in the Business and Financial Times. Right. So I believe that was, in Africa or Ghana can never, ever break out of where it is without a digitalization agenda. So that was something in the right direction. But of course, the voter is a different creature. You know, let me give you an example of a voter being really satisfied. I remember way back in 1992, okay, Rawlings made all the streets in Kumasi asphalt everywhere. You know what the Kumasi people said? Who the gold cry, even if you come and paint the streets to go, we'll go against it. So I don't think that people should be linking,
I see.
votes to development in any way.
I see. And today the party is trying to retrace itself back to the NPP of old.
Yeah.
And one of the things that, they did earlier this year was that report on why the 2024 outcome, election outcome was what it was. As a member, you don't know what is in that document.
No.
Why? Is that a good thing?
Even not as a member, I'm a common floor member now. Even as a top executive, this is not the first time these things have been done. I never saw any of those documents. That's another issue. Because the problem is that when you do your research, it's very important that you turn it into policy, break it down, and then let people see what it is. But you are holding the thing like formerly in the Roman Catholic Church. It was only the Roman father who held the Bible. And it was even in Latin. So nobody could understand. If he told you that you have to strip yourself naked, you would do it because that's what God says. Nobody reads it until it was translated into English and we all started reading. You can't do such an exercise and never, all the time. It's not only this time. All the time, you don't tell people what is in it.
Which means that a lot of you will then be going into this reconciliatory journey blind because you haven't been told exactly what the committee that investigated the loss found.
What is reconciliation? Madam, let me tell you something. This whole world is about interests. You and I can unite when our interests align. So we can be friends today, can be enemies tomorrow. Enemies today, friends tomorrow. It's all about interest, whether you accept it or not. Madam, until we can assure our people that their interests, regardless of how varied, and some of them it's not about money. If they work for you, you will give them something. There can be no unity. There has to be a unity of purpose. That's why we are united in Christ. Because he has promised us something. He says, if you are civil towards each other, if you do A, B, C, D, I'm going to reward you. And that is the reason why, even though you would want to do something to your fellow man, you listen to him because there is a reward somewhere for those who stay away from vengeance and leave it to. So you cannot run away from that. Every single institution, I have managed institutions at very top. I have founded companies across the world. I've run companies in other countries. And I'm telling you that the first thing you do as an HR expert, and I have an MBA, the first thing you do as an HR expert is to make sure you deal with motivation, and that comes largely with a compensation package.
And so the leadership now has got it wrong.
Until it is done. From where I was embedded. I was not on the bus. A lot of them were on the bus, air conditioned. I was not. I was embedded. I was with the people. And I'm a PhD researcher. So I see, I observe, I document, and I know what to do with it. So I am telling you that every single person out there who stays away from dealing with the structure, the fundamental, which is that people feel that when the party comes to power through their efforts, they get absolutely nothing out of it. Why should they die for the party? And that is the reason why in Ashima, on the day of the election, for half of the polling stations, we didn't even have polling agents. You know why? First, they said they would charge $350 to sit there. No, $500. We said $350. They refused to. And when we even brought them the $500, they said they were not even interested in working for the party anymore. And that is how bad it got. So I don't even understand what is going on. You need people who will get back, step back, and say, hey, this is very structural, okay? We're dealing with human beings here, not animals, okay? So we need to understand that certain things must be in place for them to rise above petty and unite in purpose. Purpose means regardless of who becomes a flag bearer, they are going to put that person there because there's a system in place, transparent enough, institutionalized, that is going to take care of them. And it's not always about money. It's not always about contracts. I have seen people who just want to be recognized.
But that's the thing. The party statement tells us that, look, this move we are doing is towards unity. You are saying that before you get to that point, they should have been doing these things that you have just spoken about, which means that what they are doing now will not work.
No, it won't work. I don't care what anybody says. Even Jesus Christ cannot convince me to be good if he takes away that reward that I'll go to heaven and sit on the right-hand side of God and inherit mansions. Would you? There are many people who hold themselves and discipline themselves largely because of the promise. And the promise is sure. It is secure. You know, because God has given you that promise and God never changes. So you are very, very sure that whatever God says today, God will definitely honor the promise. And that is why you stay away from things that God says you should stay away from and unite in the faith. That is why people do that. And so it's very fundamental to anything we do.
Reward is a good
Absolutely.
motivation.
That's what you do. It's one of the things that you do to motivate people. You need to recognize them through reward compensation. I'm telling you. Unless those guys have not worked it out before, they understand. If they don't, then they need to step aside. Because now the thing needs to be re-engineered and restructured. And if it has to be, that's one of the people who really understand, who have the background, and who have done these things in the political party context. Otherwise, it's not going to happen. And I don't care what anybody says. I was there. I sat there. I saw the failings. Another friend of mine told me that even in Kaswa, on that day, there were 12 police stations that the NPP didn't even have police agents for. That is a problem. That is a problem. There were places where, even though we had 5 executives at the police station, we got 0. It's a big problem. It is a big, big problem. What we have is huge. So we need serious people who have what it takes to first diagnose, understand it, and then the tools and the ability to mobilize people to make it happen. But it has to start with you assuring every single one of the people out there, regardless of how varied their expectations are, or how diverse they may be. And that's a very, very Herculean job. You have to set up a system. You can only do that when you systemize things. You set up a system, and that system then assures them, not you, because you can die tomorrow. You need to have such a thing in place. Not anybody can do it.
So tell me, we know that the party will be holding its flag bearership race before the national executive race, internal elections. I mean, what do you think about that? The flag bearer will be chosen, and then the national executive race will then take off.
It's neither here nor there. I hear arguments that, we want to elect the flag bearer and then we'll bring peace and unity. It has to be constructed, Master. It will never come. It will never
I thought you were going to say that is part of the construction.
No. I mean, let me tell you something. When we couldn't get people to man our polling stations in Ashama, did we not have a flag bearer? We had a flag bearer called Bawumia. Do you not have it? Did that get them to go and sit there? So these are all, what I'm trying to say, people have agendas. These are not addressing the structural problems in the party. Somebody thinks that I must have it at this time, they get up and I want to do that. It's not going to work. Because at the end of the day, my feeling, and I've been saying this over the years, build the institution, strengthen the party. Let people have confidence and trust in the party, that this party that they are following, one, will reward them. Let even Ghanaians believe that this party manages itself in such a manner that should we even bring them, I don't even know who, let's say Ghanaians will say, I don't even know who the flag bearer is. I don't really care, but I trust the party. So let me transfer the trust that I have in this party to that person. And that's what I'm talking about. And this is deep. This is not superficial. This requires a lot of work. And it's not like we've never done this before. When this party was started, I was very young, but I followed them. I saw the party being constructed. They constructed it. And I learned from there. Firsthand, a lot of the things, I don't have to take any book to talk about. I saw the thing firsthand, how they constructed this party. And I'm saying that a lot of the guys out there have no clue how these things are really done. And even if they read it, they don't really know how to even get it done because their backgrounds, even educational, professional, all those things, experience within the party hasn't prepared them to be able to handle something of this magnitude. It has not prepared them. With all due respect, it has not prepared them. This requires very deep and serious approach. You can't have people out there that's jumping. We are going to go and hit again. You bring flag bearer, it's not going to change anything. You know what's going to happen? Me, I know. When we get these our candidates for the constituencies. When you elect them too early, you even worry them because the people in the village and the towns, they'll go after them for hospital, school fees and everything. Then they tend to run away and then come and stay somewhere in Accra away from their constituencies, and when they go back, they say, hey, oh, no,
so the party is dealing with less important issues right now.
I think that, look, I've told you what the problem is. We have issues. We have issues with identification. We have issues with creating space for people to feel heard. All those things, internal procedural justice system. We have issues with even defining what a party really is. Who knows? If you want to be a member of the New Petrol, are you going to be what? Attached to what? The House of Dobo, the House of Buzia, the House of what? JB Dankwa? There are a lot of people who have come to me to say that, hey, President Archibio, I'm not from the House of Dombo, I'm not from the House of JB Dankwa, I'm not from the House of Buzia. So, Miss Media, they say, I see Baumia, the House of Dombo, and I'm a House of Buzia, and another house. When am I going to even be there? So there are a lot of things. And when people feel marginalized, it affects their emotional connection to the party.
Didn't the recent delegates conference where constitutional amendments were made create that space for people to be heard?
I proposed two things. I wrote about two things. And I spoke about many things, but I proposed two things. I wrote to them. I talked about bringing back the MO, you put it in the constitution, like the NDC they've done now. Now the NDC, Mohammed's appointments, the party was part of it. They were told, and it's happening. So you have them now knowing that they own the party. Put it in our constitution so that we started it, and they copied, they implemented. So now they have an institution, which institution has moved away from a personality rollings. So everybody is forgetting our personalities, and now they are building a party based upon an ideology. We are moving away from our ideology and going towards personalities. It needs to be resolved. These are things that have to be done, and it requires construction. Because whilst you are trying to resolve something, other people may also be angry that we are holding on to the thing because it interests them. Some people also feel that they should emotionally be attached to certain personalities, the three personalities. So it has to be managed, but we need to move away from that. If we can have people, we must have values so that people can align with those values and then get an emotional connection so that even in the event that the NDC does everything to this country and then they perform economically, somebody will say, even if you put gold on the streets, I am emotionally connected to the NPP because of these principles, not because of people.
Will that structure deal with disruptive factionalism?
But it deals with it because,
it deals with it.
As I said earlier, if you go in management, if there's a problem, we've been taught to ask 5 whys. By the time you get to the 5th why, you see what the problem really is. It's not what you see. You see, because when you're talking about all factions, you go back and say, why do people associate with people and behave in the manner they behave? Why can't they behave in that manner towards the party itself? So that regardless of who wins the primaries, they would then help, to push the person there. It is because they don't believe that the party can deliver. Let me give you an example way back. Let me go back. Clotte Colley. You know Clotte Colley constituency?
Yeah.
There was a certain gentleman called Abuaji. He was then the constituency chairman, Clifford Abuaji. And he had nurtured the constituency. He had built the constituency. He spoke Ga even better than me. Me, I'm a Ga from Ngleshi. My mother from Asene. My father from Ngleshi. So I'm a pure Ga. And he spoke Ga better than even me. But Akani Abuaji had prepared the place. But then Kufuor, Odoe Sykes and those guys thought that, wait a minute, we need to put guns, in place. You have to have them contest along this so that we can move the guns in and then be able to be attractive and win the election. So they spoke to Abuaji. Can you imagine? Abuaji, of all the efforts he had made, Abuaji sat there. They promised him that, look, let it go. Once we win, we will make sure we deliver, we'll give you a position for the sacrifice I am making. So think about the party. But Abuaji believed in the party. He believed in the institution of the party. So Abuaji decided to step aside. And then Ni Adumante was brought from Dome Kwabenya. He had gone there to contest.
Yeah.
We brought him and made him the candidate for Osu Clotte 3 months to the time. And he won Clotte Colley. Since he won, no NPP person has won before. So it's not about you doing the thing early, 3 years, 4 years. That's not the issue. The issue is that if you have built the system, if you have done it, and you can assure people, they will move away, and then for the collective good of the party. Otherwise, they will go behind individuals and look for the collective good of that individual. Because when that individual becomes the flag bearer, then they get something. And should they not make it, then they will have to come and undermine the other people because they have no space there. And these people too, in the contest, they say certain things against each other. So when they are now, we want to put them together, people don't want them to come near their flag bearers at all. Others know what they are going to chop. If you come into my space, you're also going to get some to chop. So I will not agree with you. Unity is possible, but it is only possible when there's motivation and there's a unity of purpose. So why can't we re-engineer the party so that people can trust the party? And then the party's trust can be transferred to the candidate who is going to come. You know, there are certain places, NDC, NPP, it doesn't matter who you even put there. If there is trust, collective trust in the party, they will vote for that person.
Once that is done, the party will also have to contend with public image outside of the party.
Yeah.
What should be done?
The whole thing is, if you look at the results, Mahama only increased his votes by about 1.2 or so %. Okay. If Bawumia had the same number of votes that Nanado had in 2020, he would have beaten Mahama. So our people largely stayed away. Okay. Why did they stay away? Because they could not connect to the party anymore. But a lot of them couldn't bring themselves around to vote for the NDC. That's what you should know. So the thing is, if we let them see that, the party of values, the party that believes in internal democracy, the party that believes in can be, the party, you know what I mean? If
you think that will be enough to cleanse the credibility of the NPP?
I think that our biggest problem is from within. Our biggest problem is that because you have something, a brand, that brand is being damaged. So it's sending wrong signals to people. The people are staying away. And that is what has happened. So if you want those people to come back to begin with, you have to bring them back. If you want them to come back, then they must understand that they can connect emotionally to the political party. They can have confidence in the way your justice system works. They can have confidence that when they bring you there will be inclusivity. You know, Buzia once said that democracy is when one person disagrees with everyone, goes home feeling safe. Not that disagrees with you, on his way, invisible forces will come and cross the person. So if you continue to do that, it's only a matter of time that trust is eroded. Right. For us to restore that trust and confidence, first in the political party, then we need to cleanse ourselves. We need to re-engineer the party, reposition it very well. And it's a structural issue. It's not cosmetic. You know, it's not the form, it's the structure. You have to do something substantial for it. And once you do that, it is then going to send signals. And that trust is going to be transferred to whoever becomes your candidate. You know that, to say, as for the constituency, it doesn't matter who we bring there. And then I can also tell you in 2024, there were certain constituencies that over the years, it did not matter who we brought there. But because the people had lost trust in the institution of the party, now when we brought people, we couldn't transfer the trust to them. So those candidates then had to try and carry the election on their backs. A lot of them couldn't make it. I
mean, so clearly there is a possibility for change. But as to whether or not you are hopeful that that change could be achieved before the next elections, what would you say?
No, it can be achieved. No, it can be achieved because I think that...
But is the party on the path to achieving that?
I think that the way things are being handled now, people are missing the point. People are not looking at the issues. The issues are very clear. People are not looking at those issues. So if you look at those issues and you resolve those issues, our chances of winning 2028 will be very bright. I am not worried about the stabilization of the CD. I'm not worried about it. Doesn't matter. Have you ever had a situation? Because I've helped people in life, even within the political party setting. I have people in the political party and they voted against me. There are stories of people who took care of people's school fees. They took care of them when they were in hospital, on their sick beds, and they did everything for them. Even flew some of their children to schools, found scholarships for them, and they still voted against them. So, madam, politics is very complex.
Right.
It is not only about development.
We wish you the very best.
Thank you.
We've been talking to Sami Krab, a former second national vice chair of the NPP. And now he looks forward to becoming the national chair of the party in the 2026 internal elections of the NPP. My name is Keminni Amanor, and this is Hot Issues. We are back next week with another edition. Bye-bye.
Today's Woman is brought to you by
Gino Pomo Tomato Mix.